Hi, Michael Payne from Team Carbon Arms. I've been working on my brand new Benelli M2. I've got my Nordic extension installed and I've done my port work. It looks really nice. Let's check it out. The first thing you're going to want to do before you start any port work is you're going to want to tape off the area that you want to work with. This can help. This acts as a guide, but it also keeps you from having any stray grinding running down the side of your receiver, messing up your finish of your nice paint job. The second thing is you're going to want to have a nice padded vise. Now you don't have to clamp this very hard in order to do the filing that you need to do. You also want to make sure you clamp it across a supported portion of the receiver, such as the top of the receiver, as opposed to across this cavity where you could potentially collapse the receiver, bend it, and then ultimately ruin it. Once you have everything figured out and you're going to go ahead and start making chips, then what I do is I start with moving the feed port forward. I use this Dremel and a sanding drum. Now I don't like to use Dremels on these very much, but this is a difficult area to get into with a file. And so the Dremel makes short work of that, and you just definitely want to have a nice steady hand and work your way nice and slow because you can't put the metal back on. Then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to cut my basic profile of my feed port with this nice large flat high grade file, back and forth until I have it the basic shape I want. Once the basic shape is cut, I'm going to come back with a slightly smaller file, but it has a rounded back, and this is where I'm going to do a lot more of the detail work. I'm actually going to cut my angles across the feed port on both sides using this file, and then I'm going to use the rounded end to blend the corners and finish off the basic shape. Then I'm going to come back with my Dremel, and I'm going to do two things. First, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to cut my chamfer on the inside, which helps funnel the shells into the magazine during feeding. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to swap out that drum and I'm going to put on one of these, which is, and I don't know what this is called, but it's basically a rubber eraser that's been impregnated with aluminum oxide. So it's abrasive, but it doesn't take off very much material. And I'm going to come back and I'm going to use that to clean up all of my file marks and do my final blending so that everything is nice and smooth and clean and looks real professional. The area of concern that we need to make sure that we watch out for is when you get down in here, you don't want to take off so much material that you get into this lip. Now, when you put the chamfer here, you're going to be cutting into that lip a little bit, but you still have about 80% of it left. And you definitely want to make sure you have enough lip there to both capture the follower and not let it pop out of the magazine tube, but also not provide very much wiggle room for the shell to skip past the shell catch. Okay, you can see from this angle that I lower the feed port on the right hand side a little bit more than I do on the left. This is to help me facilitate my over-the-shoulder load 2 technique. In addition, because the right side is lower, it doesn't have to be angled quite so steep. So I angle it about 20 degrees, which is about the angle that my thumb comes in to engage. On the left-hand side, I go about 45 degrees. This helps me to get a clear separation when I'm rolling my hands off of the shells and onto the outside of the receiver. From this angle, you can see that I have about a 1/4 inch of shotgun shell peeking out from underneath the receiver. I also have a more squarish profile. I bring the cuts out pretty far down the receiver, as opposed to some of the other ones where you see where it's very rounded here. I flare it out a little bit more. This allows more room for my thumb to get in here and solidly click the shell into place. In this side view, you can also see that I like to taper my cut down. This allows me to have a path for my thumb that mimics the path of the shell as it follows the lifter down to the feed port. You can actually see the shell peeking up just a little bit from this angle. Alright, so as you can see from this angle, my thumb is engaged with about 50% of the back of the shotgun shell. In addition, as I move this forward into the magazine tube, my thumb never disengages that 50% engagement because of the angled cut that I put on the port. In addition, my thumb is engaged at about a 20-degree angle, which is the same angle as the cut that I put along the side.
Stand by!
That was 4 seconds. 8 shells in 4 seconds. This thing's terrific. Stay tuned for my next video when we're going to put in all the little goodies that make these things raced out. I'm Michael Payne from Team Carbon Arms, and I'll see you at the range.